Hey everyone, and welcome back to NexGen News. I'm Trenton.
And I'm Giovanna.
And this is NexGen News.
We have a jam-packed show for you today. From censorship to rhinos, executive orders to space bubble concerts.
Space bubble concerts?
No, just wait. For now, let's head over to Trenton for our top story.
As you may have heard by now, social media companies such as Facebook and Twitter have been much stricter about what you can and cannot post. This began before the election as a way to prevent misinformation or fake news from spreading. Sometimes these companies would take the post completely down or leave the post but add an alert message to warn users of misinformation. But after the attack on the Capitol, they have taken a much more aggressive stance. Former President Trump is permanently banned from Twitter and banned on Facebook until further notice. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said the ban came after continued violations of their community guidelines. But the straw that broke the camel's back was the Capitol riots. Dorsey cites that Trump's online tweets caused offline harm and threats to physical safety. And for that, he is permanently banned.
Don't get me wrong, I was appalled at what happened at the Capitol building, but all of this banning and censorship makes me wonder, is our First Amendment right to freedom of speech being violated?
You bring up a really interesting point, Giovanna. Jack Dorsey himself recognized that banning Trump from Twitter has set a dangerous precedent for a free and open global internet. Luckily for us, Oscar has been investigating this topic and has the scoop. Let's now head to Oscar for our very first edition of NexGen Investigates.
Hey NexGen viewers, Oscar here for NexGen Investigates, where we investigate important and sometimes controversial topics to give you the scoop. Today we're talking censorship and the First Amendment. To fully grasp this topic, we need to go back in time to understand the First Amendment. The year is 1791, the Bill of Rights, or the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, had just been ratified. The First Amendment reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the peaceful peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. To put it in simpler terms, the First Amendment guaranteed freedom of religion, petition, assembly, press, and freedom of speech. But let's focus on the freedom of speech part. Freedom of speech gives citizens the right to express ideas, opinions, and information without government restraint. If companies like Twitter and Facebook are censoring posts or banning individuals from their platform, some people are left wondering, are their First Amendment rights being violated? It's an interesting question for sure. If you were to just look at the First Amendment from when it was ratified in 1791, the answer would probably be yes. But the First Amendment was very vague. And over the years, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled what is and what is not protected by the First Amendment. In the 1919 case, Schenck versus the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that incitement of people to commit illegal or lawless activity or acts that create a clear and present danger to others is not protected by the First Amendment. For example, it is against the law to walk into a movie theater and falsely yell, "Fire!" Definitely don't do that. Along these lines, Twitter and Facebook have banned Trump for inciting the attack on the U.S. Capitol building because his speech led to illegal and lawless activities that were a harm to others, which is not covered by the First Amendment. But besides Trump, what about all these posts being censored or tagged as misinformation? Posts about conspiracy theories, election fraud, misinformation about COVID-19 and vaccines. Are those covered under the First Amendment? This is a bit trickier. It boils down to, are these posts following the company's community guidelines? Twitter and Facebook are not government entities, and freedom of speech only protects individuals from federal and state action. Therefore, these companies have the right to establish and enforce their rules regarding users' posts. But As Jack Dorsey says, does this censorship set a dangerous precedent for a free and global internet? I don't have all the answers, but one thing is for sure. When our founding fathers wrote the First Amendment, they did not anticipate the age of social media and misinformation we are living in today. Times have changed, and I wouldn't be surprised if this fight over misinformation makes its way to the Supreme Court in the future. For now, I'm Oscar, and this has been a special report of NexGen Investigates.
Giovanna, imagine if there are only 2 of our species left on planet Earth.
Oh gosh, are you talking about a future zombie apocalypse? No, I can't do zombies. They freak me out.
Calm down. We're not talking about zombies, and we're not talking about the future either. We are talking about the northern white rhinos. There are only 2 northern white rhinos left on planet Earth. Let me say that again. There are only 2 northern white rhinos left on the entire planet. Their names are NexGen and Fatu. As if their story couldn't get any more dramatic, NexGen is Fatu's mother. These 2 rhinos, also known affectionately as the girls, were born at a zoo in 1989 and 2000, but now live at a wildlife conservancy in Kenya, Africa. Their story gained a lot of attention back in 2018 when Sudan, the last male northern white rhino, died. With only 2 females left, the northern white rhino became not just endangered, but functionally extinct without the possibility to breed.
This is awful. How are there only 2 northern white rhinos left?
Well, northern white rhinos are the 2nd largest land mammal after elephants. And in addition to being up to 6,000 pounds, they have a massive horn that could grow up to 5 feet long. Unfortunately for rhinos, their horns are extremely valuable in some parts of the world, especially Asia. Because of this, poachers have mercilessly hunted these beautiful creatures for their horns, and now there are only 2 left.
That's terrible.
I know, but there is a small glimmer of hope. Although NexGen and Fatu are unable to carry a calf to term, a surrogate rhino of a different subspecies may be their last chance. Let's take a look.
Scientists racing to pull the northern white rhino back from the brink of extinction have produced 2 more embryos from egg cells harvested in Kenya, increasing their total number of viable embryos to 5. The northern white rhino is critically endangered. The last male died in Kenya's Olpejeta Conservancy in 2018, and the last 2 surviving animals are mother and daughter, NexGen and Fatu, who are both infertile. In December, BioRescue harvested egg cells which were fertilized with frozen sperm from dead males. The embryos will be transferred into a surrogate mother, for which BioRescue plans to use the southern white rhino, a subspecies numbering about 18,000.
We are quite under time constraints because we want really a transfer of the social knowledge from the last 2 existing northern white rhinos to a calf.
The team hopes to deliver their first northern white rhino calf in 3 years and a wider population in the next 2 decades.
Wow, so once the surrogate southern white rhino has the baby, NexGen and Fatu can raise it?
That's the plan, but the clock is ticking. Thank you to NexGen and Fatu's caretakers and the team of scientists that are working so hard to save the northern white rhinos. To learn more about how you can help, head to the World Wildlife Fund website at worldwildlife.org and search white rhino.
Hey Trenton, how are the numbers 37, 1, and 2021 connected?
I don't know. Oscar's eating 37 number 1s from In-N-Out in 2021 so far?
I hope not. No, President Biden signed 37 executive orders during week 1 of his 2021 presidency. And these executive orders just keep on coming.
Wow, that's a lot. What are those executive orders for?
Well, many of the president's executive orders are reversing the Trump administration's most controversial and unpopular policies, including reversing the transgender military ban, the Muslim ban, and revoking the Keystone Pipeline permit. President Biden also signed executive orders rejoining the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization.
So you're saying with the signing of a pen, Biden could just make new laws? Like, about anything?
Kind of, although I'm not entirely sure. So let's head to Oscar to learn more about executive orders in this week's edition of NexGen Politics.
Hey everyone, I'm Oscar, and welcome to NexGen Politics. Trenton and Giovanna, you came to the right place. Today, I'm going to give you a free civics lesson.
I can't wait for this civics lesson.
Me too. I love civics.
So, what exactly is an executive order, you ask? Well, according to the American Bar Association, an executive order is a signed, written, and published directive from the President of the United States that manages operations of the federal government. Essentially, these executive orders interpret laws and tell the government how to work. While executive orders are not laws, they are enforced as such and don't need congressional approval. Presidents sign executive orders because getting a law passed is no easy feat. You remember that Schoolhouse Rock song, I'm Just a Bill?
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, so like Giovanna and Trenton said, bills can just sit on Capitol Hill. But according to Article 2 of the Constitution, which establishes the president's power, they can use executive action to get things done without Congress. That being said, the courts have the power to invalidate executive orders if they believe there is a breach of power or if the order is unconstitutional. Additionally, when a new president is elected, they can eliminate any existing executive order they want. Talk about power. So what kinds of executive orders do presidents issue? Well, sometimes they're used in times of emergencies when quick decisions must be made or as a way to create, expand, or take away the power of federal agencies. But now, let's take a look at 3 of the most important executive orders ever. First up, we have the Emancipation Proclamation. In 1863, President Lincoln signed this executive order that freed the slaves of the Confederate States. Next up, in 1933, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the New Deal, which was crucial for relief, recovery, and reform following the Great Depression. And in 1957, President Dwight D. Eisenhower used an executive order to protect black students from racial violence and protesters as they made their way into a formerly segregated high school in Little Rock, Arkansas. Not all executive orders had a positive impact on the country, though. In 1942, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed an executive order forcibly moving Japanese Americans into internment camps. These are just 4 of the executive orders from history. On average, U.S. presidents have signed 300 executive orders during their term, but FDR signed 3,721 executive orders. Remember, he served 4 terms as president, though. Overall, executive orders are a quick way for presidents to solve problems. But this solution is like a band-aid because without an official law, the next president or Congress can easily remove it.
Well, now I know how the numbers 37, 1, and 2021 are connected, and I'm going to be paying much more attention to the executive orders President Biden is signing.
Yes, Oscar, thanks for the civics lesson. I not only learned about executive orders, but also how much power the president has.
Well, I'm glad I can help. You know what? Wait, maybe I should be a civics professor. I'm pretty good at this. Anyways, for now, I'm Oscar, and thanks for tuning in to NexGen Politics.
Hey, Trenton, what are the 3 things you miss most about non-quarantine life?
Ooh, man, that's hard. I think for me, it's playing sports, going to the movies, and traveling. I haven't had me a nice New York hot dog in far too long.
You really do love those hot dogs.
I sure do. How about you, Giovanna? What 3 things do you miss the most?
I never thought I'd say this, but definitely going to school in person. Won't take school for granted anymore. But also being able to hug people and live music. Haven't been to a concert in forever.
I miss concerts too.
Actually, speaking of concerts, did you hear about the COVID-safe concert the Flaming Lips recently put on in Oklahoma?
No, tell me more.
The story will blow up your mind. For most bands, COVID-19 has not been good for business. Because concerts bring large crowds of people close together, they have been impossible with social distancing protocols. Until now, meet the Flaming Lips, a rock band formed in the 1980s in Oklahoma. The Flaming Lips are not just creative musicians, but apparently creative problem solvers too. They recently held 2 COVID-safe concerts in Oklahoma where they and the crowd were sealed in protective space bubbles. The space bubbles were set up in advance and were equipped with a speaker, fan, bottle of water, towel, and a sign reading, "I gotta go pee and it's hot in here," in order to be escorted out by staff. Talk about full service. Once the space bubbles were blown up, it was lights, camera, showtime.
Mind blown. Even the band had their own space bubbles.
So cool, right? Perhaps I won't have to wait until the pandemic is over to go to a concert after all. Billie Eilish, if you're watching this, please do a space bubble concert soon. Well, NexGen viewers, that about wraps up our show for today.
We hope you enjoyed it, and Giovanna, best of luck getting yourself to a space bubble concert.
Thanks. If there's a will, there's a way. For now, I'm Giovanna.
And I'm Trenton.
And we are
NexGen
NexGen News.
Bringing news to the next generation.